Good night, everyone. Thank you very much for coming to this event. We're very happy to have you here, as well as we're very happy to have Dr. Wendy Treynor with us tonight. Let's give her a very warm applause from the National Chengchi University.
I am so honored, excited, delighted to be here today at the National Chengchi University. This is the preeminent university of Taiwan and the world because you're all here to make a difference through business. I'm so inspired. And just as a coincidence, I met Alejandro, your classmate. Will you raise your hand, Ale? By coincidence, I met him 3 years ago when I came to Taipei, the day before he started school here. And I met such incredible people, not just Ale, but I met like 3 or 4 other people, and they were all so amazing from all over the world, Japan, Norway, Taiwan, and we climbed Elephant Mountain together. And I had such a great time. Of course, I wanted to come back to Taiwan. So I came back, and my friend, my beloved friend, Jason, Dr. Jason Su, he's probably one of your favorite people. If you don't know him, he's coming in the spring, and he'll be teaching here in the spring. He is fabulous. You have to take his class. He's a financial whiz guru, but he's just like you and me. He's super approachable. He's so sweet, but he's also like this brilliant guy who's only like, 40-something years old, and he's published over 40 papers. And he has developed something called Smart Beta, which is like taking the world by storm in the last year. They've gone all over the world speaking about this idea, and he has companies in Taiwan, Beijing, Hong Kong, and in Irvine, California. He's created a wonderful company that I got to speak at in Taiwan 2 days ago called Reliant, like Reliant, but Ray with a ray of sun. Reliant Global Advisors. So you can keep your eye out for them in the future, 'cause he's the reason I'm here today. So thanks to you, Jason. We love you. And thanks to you, Alejandro. I love you too. Alejandro has been a great tour guide for me. Last night we were at the Commune E7, and we went with our other friend. Where's our other friend? Lara. So I got a great introduction. Okay, but enough about all my gratitude. Now I will tell you a little bit about me, which is that I have a PhD in social psychology from the University of Michigan in the United States, and I studied emotion, ethics, depression, and social influence. And amazingly, out of that degree program, I came to learn about happiness, but I hadn't actually applied everything I'd learned to myself, right? I had to wait a few years after until I became really depressed. It was actually, I think, a year after I got my PhD. I became really depressed because I was like on the job market. We're so competitive, right? But I didn't get any jobs. I was so devastated because it was like one of the top universities, right, in my field, but I couldn't get a professorship job. So I was so unhappy. I wished to get cancer, and what's so crazy is I actually got cancer a few days or weeks later. But the good news is, once I was diagnosed with cancer, it allowed me to actually step outside of the stream of life, because usually we're so busy, right, in life doing everything. But with cancer, now I could kind of get out of the work stream and kind of reflect on my life, and I was able to connect the dots in a way I hadn't before and start applying the principles I've learned in research to my own life. And one of the things that came out of my experience was this mind-blowing experience where all of a sudden I was able to connect the dots in my field. I wanted to know what is true, and so I used the needle and thread of logic, or you could call it mathematical logic, because I was a math and econ major. So like Jason, I'm very quantitative oriented. And my favorite class in math was abstract algebra. And I don't know, has anyone here ever done abstract algebra? Oh, good. You will know exactly what I'm talking about. No one else will know, but I will try to tell you how fun this class is. It's crazy fun. It's like a game, right? It's crazy, crazy fun. And basically, the whole class is teaching you that that everything we learned in school with like the number system was just a created world. They basically had a few initial conditions, a few relationships, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and when you mix the initial conditions with these relationships, you generate a whole world, which is our number system. So our number system isn't even real, it's just created, right? But the cool thing about abstract algebra is you learn how to symbolize relationships and then derive outcomes using operations so you can generate the world. And basically I use that mathematical logic to generate the social emotional dynamics you're going to learn about in the talk today. So I used the ideas from abstract algebra, and this is what I did, is I basically symbolized major concepts in social psychology, major findings, and I symbolized them, and then I performed logical operations to derive outcomes. And then we generated a whole world of truth about the social emotional dynamics of the human system. And then you get to learn about why you suffer and why you're happy. And you discover how our happiness is intimately linked with social influence. And it's powerful to see. I'm really excited to share with you today. So enough about that. Who here is happy? That's what I want to know today. Who's happy? Yay, that is how I feel. And you know why I feel you're happy is because you're at this amazing university, but also because you're just amazing people who want to make the world a better place. That's what I learned about your students. Everyone who goes to this university is like, wants to make a difference, wants to make the world a good place. And that's probably the biggest honor for me to be here, is to be among you. Just to be among people like you who are charging ahead to make our planet happy, healthy, and harmonious. So let's just give yourself a round of applause right now. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for being the world's leaders. Oh my God, I'm like so excited. You are the world's leaders. I get to share my research with you. How lucky I am. Oh my God, I could cry. I just realized what's happening right now. Okay, but I'll try not to be self-conscious. I will connect with my essence. And let us begin. Okay. So in today's workshop or lecture, we are going to learn about the framework, but there are really three different sections. Okay, we're going to learn about how to liberate from social conditioning and free ourselves from those shackles of social influence. That portion is called the identity shift effect, and I'll be sharing that with you today. And it's a three-step process that explains how we are socially influenced and how conflict can lead us to do things against our heart or conscience under social pressure. And then step two, we're going to learn about this social emotional theory of depression that comes out of the framework I derived using the abstract algebra principles. And then we're going to learn the self-love solution, which is a logical implication of that framework. And then lastly, we're going to move into understanding the connection between tribal psychology and ultimate reality. Because what happens is, even though we are living in Taiwan, in Taipei, in the city, and we have iPhones and laptops and cars and everything, technology, we still are human beings with an evolutionarily evolved tribal psychology. Like, you know, years and years ago, we grew up in tribes. There was nature and there was tribes, right? And now, even though we're in the modern city, we still have that old evolutionary structure that we're still functioning by. So our tribes, you'll learn, the technical name is a reference group. We'll go to that definition today. But our tribal mentality influences our happiness. And then we'll learn how to break free from that mentality. And this idea of tribes is so amazing because it applies not to us just coming like from a different country, but it can apply to our friends here. You know, who's our group of friends in Taiwan? And it can apply to our friends at work. It can apply to our workplace. It can apply to our kids. It's very general. It's very exciting. Okay, so who here is excited to be here just to see, oh my God, woo, give yourself another round of applause. I love that you're so excited. This makes all the difference. Okay, oh, but I'm supposed to tell you about me. Okay, I'll tell you about me. Well, my experience, do you want to hear a little story about me? It's going to be a little story that's going to go a little longer, but here it is. So when I was 21, I graduated from college. I went to a university in my country. And after I graduated, I was so excited to have my first job because I was like you, I want to make a difference in business. And I got there, and when I arrived, I would say 4 things happened, to make a long story short. The first is I was not accepted for being who I am. I experienced social rejection in the form of ostracism, where they had some company events that I was not invited to, but everyone else was except for one other person. And then I was exposed to humiliation because I chose to live in a lower income neighborhood. My superior at work, he nicknamed me Slummy as a way, I know, I can't believe it either. It was so mean, just to humiliate me. So when I come into work each morning, he'd say in front of everyone, hey, Slummy. And what was so sad was this company was a prestigious company, and my grandfather had recommended it to me. So, I was just doing what my grandfather said I should do, And then the third thing that happened was I was threatened. I was told if I didn't follow orders that I was going to be butting heads with top management. I was asking questions because I was curious. I wanted to make a difference. How do you do this? Why do you do this? Okay, and then the fourth thing that happened was I was asked to do something illegal at work. And I had no idea it was illegal. So what happened was they asked me to call this other company. I called this other company and they said, ask them this question. I asked them this question. The other company fortunately said, you can't ask for that information. It's illegal for us to share it. It was probably inside information, right? So fortunately, nothing happened. But the fact that they even asked me to do something illegal was so wrong. So to make a long story short, I could give you more details, but I want to spare you. I came to a point where I came home from work one night and I was like, I've been here 2 months. I've been there 2 months. And I was like, I really am not happy working here. I don't know anybody in this whole state. And every day I go to work, I'm either humiliated, or ostracized or threatened. And I just want to be happy. And I was thinking, well, if I just go along with what they want me to do, which was all the things I guess I've just told you, and then there were 2 other crazy things I'll share with you that they wanted me to do. One was they wanted me to drive my car, to get a fancy car and drive it to work every day. I wanted to ride my bike. And I got in trouble for riding my bike to work. And my superior said, look, if you ride your bike to work, the boss is going to drive you home each day. And the boss literally drove me home and punished me for driving my bike to work. Okay. The other last thing that was strange about this company was they had an apartment complex where most of the employees lived, and they wanted me to live there too. So they were trying to get me to live, and I was like, no, I want to stay in my neighborhood. So that's, I'm going to leave it there. That's all you need to know. But that night, when I came home and I had this talk with myself, I was like, oh my God, if only I would just be like them, drive a fancy car, live in their apartment complex, not ask questions, then they would be nice to me, and then I could be happy. But I knew if I was happy conforming to a way that goes against love, that I would lose my soul. I would lose my friends. I would lose my wholeness, right? I'd lose my respect from my family. So I made a decision the next day to turn in my letter of resignation. And I was so happy. I drove 2,000 miles back to my home. And I was free of that forever. Thank the the universe. So let's give ourselves a round of applause for freedom and truth and love. Thank you. But the thing is, I was so tempted to just become one of the sheep. And that's one of the concerns I have in our society, in the global community today, is that and this is so important for you as global leaders to hear, because you're the head of these companies, so you're the one who's shining the light into each organization, right? You're the leaders, shining light. So one of my concerns in the global community today is that, look, if this kind of pressure is happening at the institutional level to our people on the global community, this means that creative, free, good people are being seduced into robotic, mechanical activity where they're not using their heart and their mind. And so it's important for all of us to take a stand for freedom and human dignity. So let's give ourselves another round of applause, because that's what we're going to do as leaders from National Chengchi University. So I had this idea that maybe, if I can spread awareness of this discovery, I really feel it's a discovery I made in graduate school. After I had this experience, I went to graduate school, right? And I believe that I discovered the 3-step process of why good people become robotic under social pressure in the corporate level, okay? And it not just in the boardroom, but I believe this 3-step process explains what's happening even on the playground. Okay, you want to hear what it is? Okay, let's do it. So, step 1, if we find ourselves in a social situation where we're being asked to do something that goes against love, or goes against our hearts, then we'll feel social pressure from the people who are asking us to do wrong, and we'll experience that as painful, as external conflict. Or you could call it humiliation. It's a fear of external conflict. It's also equivalently the fear of social rejection. Okay, but step 2 happens. We have to make a choice. Are we going to conform or not to that norm? And if we do conform, which we probably won't, but research shows, from research in my field in social psychology, they found that 30% of people would do something they didn't believe in, right? And that was in the Ash studies, Solomon Ash, where in these studies, they would show like 3 lines, like look at my fingers, imagine my fingers are 3 lines, and one is taller than the other, and then one is shorter than the other. And in that study, they would have a room full of people. I think in this study they had 7 people in the room. But they were all actors, but the participant in the study didn't know they were actors. And when the actors, they would ask the actors, which is the longest finger? And all the actors would say, I can't do it. They'd say, this one is the longest line. This is the longest, they didn't say longest finger, longest line is this one. But it was so obviously shorter than the other 2. So they'd say, who thinks, what is the longest finger? And they'd say, oh, it's this one, or the longest line, this one, this one. And all 7 people say, it's this one, it's this one, it's this one, but it's clearly shorter. And then they get to the real participant, who's number 8, and they say, participant number 8, which is the longer? And it's obviously not this one, but everyone said it was this one. So what do you think happens? Some people say this is the longest finger, right? But this is the longest line. But only 30% of people did that, okay? Or a third. But then there was another study that they did in my field, social psychology, by Stanley Milgram at Yale University. And I think Stanley wanted to see if he could create a situation where 100% of people would conform even against their truth. So just to make a long story short, in his study, he was interested in trying to understand the pressures of the Holocaust in Germany in World War II. He wanted to know why people were murdering innocent Jewish people. And basically, he developed a study where he had a man in a white lab coat and then the participant. And he basically had actor the participant thought was real, who was supposed to be like a student learner who was trying to answer questions, but he would get the questions wrong. And then the participant was told by the experimenter to shock with a fake shocker, but the actor would really pretend he was being shocked and it was painful. He would ask the participant to raise the dial to shock this actor for getting the wrong answer. And apparently he got it wrong a lot. And he would kept telling the people to keep raising the dial, keep raising the dial. And basically, in one of his studies, he was able, unfortunately, to show that 100% of people actually raised the dial to shock this person who looked to be in pain. So it doesn't mean everyone's going to do it. It just means that there was that study and everyone did it once, you know. But it means that we can be susceptible to social influence, and we have to be sensitive as leaders about how sensitive people can be, even good people like us, right? Okay, so where was I in my story? I had told you I wanted to know why good people do bad. Oh yeah, we're back to the identity shift effect. So if people, here's step one, feel pressure to conform. Most of us won't conform, but if some of us do, or 30%, 33%, then what happens is we move to step two, where we have basically exchanged social rejection for self-rejection. Or you could say external conflict for internal conflict. Or you could say we've exchanged humiliation for guilt, because now, even though we're getting social acceptance for doing something against love, our hearts, we now reject ourselves because we failed to live up to our own standards of what is right, good, right, and true, right? So that experience of violating our own standards is so painful that I predict the third step that happens is where we undergo an identity shift to get rid of our guilt, our self-rejection, where we now adopt the lower toxic group standards as our new self-standards. So now we're measuring ourselves up by a lower set of values. We may have told ourselves back at step one, I'm just going to go along with it so they don't harass me or reject me. But the thing is, it starts a psychological cascade, a process where you have conflict resolution, but it introduces new conflict. Then you have another conflict resolution, and now you have betrayed your heart through this identity shift, and now you have social acceptance for betraying your heart, and you have self-acceptance for going against love. And now the sky's the limit with the evil you can do. So it's what I got when I tried to understand what's true was this theory, was this three-step process called the identity shift. And it's part of this overarching framework. And what's amazing is it actually constitutes the combination of two foundational theories in my field that existed before I was even born, you know. A guy named Leon Festinger, he wrote about cognitive dissonance, which is this idea. Does anyone know cognitive dissonance? Yeah. Okay, you want to tell us what it is?
I hope I know what it is.
I hope you know too.
Yeah. My understanding of cognitive dissonance is when you have one thing in your mind, and then you know another thing to be true, and it's the feeling of the negative emotions that arise in because of the difference between the two.
I didn't hear it because I was thinking about the next thing I'm going to say. Say it again.
You have two items. You have something held in your mind, and you're presented with something else, and you achieve negative emotions because of the difference in between the two.
Okay, I think that's fair. Let's give you a round of applause. I think these. Hello. Well, let's use it. Hello. Let's try this one. Hello. Okay. So I think what you said is true. I do. And And maybe, I think what you did is right, but I guess I think of it differently. But really, it's probably the same as what you're saying, which is when you hold two conflicting thoughts simultaneously in your mind, you experience that emotional discomfort that they call dissonance. And the reason why they feel that dissonance is because it happens when the two conflicting thoughts go against your idea of being a good person. If you hold a thought that's attacking your idea of being a good person, then you feel dissonance. So that's part of, right, so that's cognitive dissonance. So basically, if you buy a record, you just invested your money buying a record, but you take it home and the record is terrible, you would have the thought, I'm a good person, I'm a smart person, but I just spent money and this is a terrible record, so you feel like cognitive dissonance. But then you would tell yourself, oh, this record isn't so bad. There's a way to get rid of your discomfort, right? Okay. Would you agree with that? No, I studied this, so I'm sure it's right. Okay.
I'm giving you my pop psychology.
Oh, your pop psychology. Okay. I have the PhD, right?
Yeah, right.
I'll stand on my authority.
I'll defer to you.
I'm right. Okay. And then the second theory of Leon Festinger's is it's not so well delineated, but he's talking about pressures of uniformity, where when we're in a social situation, we'll have social comparison, what is the group opinion versus us, and then this pressure to become one with the group norm. So basically, this identity shift effect is the pressure to become with the group norm, step one, and then step two is you feel the guilt, which is the dissonance. See, this is what I've written about, is that when we're feeling dissonance, we're really feeling guilt, or we're really feeling shame. We're really feeling that self-oriented conflict. And then we get rid of that by doing the identity shift effect, which is really powerful because it's not just that which can explain why good people turn bad under social pressure, but it also is a very systematic and simple explanation of how a group becomes our new reference group, how we choose a new tribe, how our identity shifts. And that's why I call it the identity shift. So is that cool and clear?
Yeah.
Does anyone like the identity shift effect? Raise your hand if you like it. Yay! Okay. Does anyone not like it? Not like it? You don't like it? Oh, you're just joking. Joking. Everyone liked it. Cool. Okay, so that's the identity shift effect. What else do you need to know? You need to know that when I was in graduate school, I studied, I wanted to study why good people were happy making other people unhappy. Or I shouldn't even say good people. Why people were happy making other people unhappy. I wanted to know. So, I couldn't hurt people in the laboratory because that would be unethical. So I could only study cheaters and stealers. So people who are hurting others, right? And why are they doing it? So we basically developed quantitative measures of stealing and cheating in the laboratory in a way where the participants couldn't detect it, right? So they'd be in a study and they have a American History Aptitude Questionnaire, but on their Scantron form, do you remember Scantron forms? Okay. Does anyone not know what a Scantron form is? These are like forms that we had, at least in my country, where you just fill in bubbles with a pencil. And then they put it in a machine. But basically, the Scantron everybody got, like lightly had erased, but so you could see it, the word key on it, as if answer key, and then all the answers were filled in. So basically, a person had to say, look, my test, you gave me the answer key by mistake, or whatever. But most people didn't do that. They would actually use the answers to inform their answers. So then we had a quantitative measure of degree of cheating behavior and also whether people cheated or not. And we found, this is the most amazing part, okay? I didn't even predict it. We found that the degree and the incidence of cheating behavior were predicted by, guess what? I couldn't believe it either. They're predicted by belief in the untrustworthiness of humanity. It was people's cynical beliefs about human nature that was predicting the degree and the incidence of cheating behavior. So basically this meant that whatever people were doing was correlated with what they believed other people were doing. Isn't that interesting? And I see it again and again and again in the research. So I thought, wow, that's amazing. We got to know if this is real, you know? So then we tried to replicate the study, and we did it again and got the same results. And then we thought, okay, well, let's try it with a new measure. So we looked at coin stealing behavior. So basically, we had a study where people were told they had to take coins from a bowl and measure the weight of an object like an apple in coins, and then try to guess correctly how much it weighs in terms of coins. But then some people would take the coins that were supposed to be used to adjust the weight for the apple, and that's how we had a measure of stealing behavior. So we found that that was also correlated with the cynicism, or the belief in the untrustworthiness of human nature. So then I started thinking, gosh, well, what does this mean? Why are they related, right? Is it causal this way, causal that way? What's going on? And then I noticed that in our stealing study, the people who stole things had reported in a questionnaire that their friends would steal things. So then I realized, oh, this is about tribal behavior, reference group behavior. If my friends do it, I'll do it too. Oh my God. And that's a part of what got me on this track.